Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. We're going to now create a new composition, so we could either click on this little icon here, or we can go up to composition, new composition. It'll bring up the same menu, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to click there. All of these settings we're going to leave the same. Frame rate is just under 30, that's fine. The duration is set to 10 seconds here. So you're going to want, usually I'll work within like 10 seconds and expand if needs be. I'm going to hit OK. As we've got our blank composition here, I'm just using this center scroll wheel on the mouse to scroll back and forward. Right, number one, we're going to create a background. So if we go up to layer, we're going to go to new solid. Now give us this pop-up menu. I'm going to change this to background. The title of it is everything here is fine, units, pixels. Hit OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to adjust this background. So as we can see, we've got a solid that is this little red tag which is associated with solids, and the bar is also red. So you can see that goes from the beginning right the way to the end of the clip. Okay, cool. We're going to go to effects, or effect, generate, and then gradient ramp. Right, so now we've got a gradient from black to white. We're going to change the start color. So you're going to change this to whatever it is that you like. Go with purple. And then the end color, so the color that it starts at and the color that it ends at. Okay. Now at the top and at the bottom center anchor points, we can click and drag, and then that will allow us to adjust the position of that element of the gradient. So there we go. Just make it a little more interesting. There we go, and that's how we create a gradient background in After Effects. Okay, cool. So let's click off of that. So we haven't got that layer selected anymore. So that's selected, deselected. Now from the shape tool in the tool palette, we're gonna select a tool. We'll go with the polygon tool, and the polygon tool allows you to create different shapes like a hexagon or a pentagon or a triangle, dependent on the amount of sides that it has. And the default is a pentagon, so it's got 5. So we're going to create that shape. Hold down the shift key to keep it in proportion. Let's get this centered. So if we go up to window, and then we scroll down to make sure that we've got a line selected. So your ones might not be selected. If it isn't, then it won't be selected. If it, then we just click align. We get this pop-up menu here, which is the align menu. And we're going to click on align to center horizontally and vertically, so that will put us nicely in the center. Now, as you guys can see, this little point here, which is the anchor point, that isn't in the center of the shape that we've just drawn. So if we were to scale it, or we were to try and rotate it, then it's going to rotate from that point rather than the center. So to get that point in the center, we just need to go up to window, layer. We're going to go down to transform, and then we're going to go to center anchor point in layer content. Yeah, the shortcut for that is Control Alt and Home. There we go. So now we can rotate, rescale. We don't have to worry about it looking a bit dodgy. Cool. Right, the next step is our shape layer selected, which is this one here. So as you can see, the shape has got this nice blue color, which is the tag that is associated with it. We're going to go down to the add option, you can see right here. So if we click on that, we're going to get a pop-up menu, which gives us all of these cool options. We're going to go down to trim paths, and we're going to click on that. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go to trim paths 1 If we click on that little arrow, that will give us the drop down menu. We're going to go to where it says we've got start, end, and offset. We're going to go to end. I'm going to decrease that right the way down to 0. So as you can see, the path is disappearing. Now we're going to add a keyframe by clicking on the little stopwatch. Booyah. We're going to move the playhead forward in time, and then we're going to bring that back up to 100%. So just clicking and dragging. And then what we'll see happens now is if we scroll through, then we can see that that path gets created. And that's how we create a trim path with shape. So now if we play that, we will see that it creates pretty straightforward. There's no kind of there are no principles of animation added to that. So let's make that look a little nicer. We're going to get a little bit of easing in and easing out. So in animation, the moves usually start slowly, speed up, and then slow down again towards the end of the movement. So we're going to apply the default of that by selecting those two keyframes, just by clicking and dragging. And then we're going to hit F9 on the keyboard. And you could see that those two keyframes, the icon has changed from a circle to a looking like an hourglass looking shape, and as you can see, it slows to start to ease in and then slows to finish, which is the easing out. Now we can adjust that by clicking onto this little icon here, which is the graph editor. If we just select the end layer, and then we could see that we've got this curve. So it's pretty balanced right now. So that means that the easing in and the easing out are the same. So I've just clicked onto that, and we get these two yellow pull handles. So if we click on the end point of that and move that, then that allows us to adjust that easing in and easing out. So if we sample that again just by hitting spacebar, then you see our ease out there became slower. Let's adjust the easing in also. So that quickest part is going to be right in the center. There we go. Yep, good. So we've adjusted that now to a way that we like. Just click off of the graph editor. Right, now let's adjust. If we were to zoom in and scroll forward slightly, so as you can see on the end of our shape that's being drawn, we've got that straight line. So we can make that into a rounder cap quite simply by going to our polystar drop down menu for the path. If we scroll down to where it says, stroke 1, and then where it says the line cap, so right now it's set to butt cap. I don't know why they call it that, but that's what they call it. If we click onto that and then we change that to round cap, then you see that change has just happened. So now we've got a nice round cap for our shape. Now remember earlier I was saying about the shape itself and how we could adjust it. Well, right now we've got 5 points, right? So it's a pentagon. We can increase that or decrease it. So if we go down, the smallest number is 3, large number is just a bit crazy. So if we decrease that down to 3, make it into a triangle, Illuminati confirmed. And we still get that same animation just being applied to a different shape. So that is nice, and that's how we create that interesting piece of animation start off our motion graphic. Now let's hide those layers, hide those subsections. Let's bring in the logos that we create. So I'm just going to click back onto the project window up here to bring us back to our options. We're going to bring in our logo that we created. So I'm literally just dragging this from another part of the desktop, but you can't see that. So we've got our logo in now. We're going to drag and drop our logo. So we can of course adjust the scale simply by clicking onto the drop down arrow, transform, decrease the scale. That's smaller. Let's move forward in time so we can see. That looks pretty, that looks alright. Let's move in the position of our logo down. There we go. Right, so the logo that we've created, my logo is a grey color. I'm going to make it white. So if I go up to, make sure you've got the layer for the logo selected. If I go to Effect, Generate, and Generate Fill, then we can change the color of what we've just brought in by clicking. So by default it's gone to red. Might be the same on you guys' machines, it might not, I'm not too sure. Click onto that, let's bring that up to white, and then now we've just recolored that. So in terms of when this logo appears, I want it to start appearing around here. So what we can do is we can, as we learned in the previous lesson, we can either drag the beginning point of this logo to here, or we can create a keyframe for the opacity right here and then bring that down to 0. So up to this point it's been invisible. Move the playhead forward in time and then bring that up to 100. So then that slowly fades in. Well, probably not too slowly, but yeah. And then we know we can adjust that by moving it more forward. Cool. Good. So now we've created a very, very basic piece of motion graphics, just bringing in a nice bit of animation on the triangle and then bringing in our eye symbol. So this is the beginning. So what we want to do now is we want to create a pre-composition layer. So as was explained previously, you'll be working within separate compositions to adjust your imagery, adjust your graphics, and then bringing it into your main composition. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pre-composited layer of what's going on here. So if we hold down the Shift key, select our layers, and then if we go to layer, and then we go to pre-compose, we could rename this to logo, and then we just hit OK. So now we've got all of that was just happened on that logo layer. Yeah, so that's a good looking starting point for our piece of motion graphics.